I believe there's more expectations on us than ever.
Yeah.
Not only are you expected to live the American dream, which is buy a home, have children, do all of that, you're expected to now have a full-time career, be social, go to the gym, make sure you're healthy,
meditate, cook, have a business, and a career, and have babies. Like,
there are not enough hours.
No, it's never been the right time. Like we're holding back the storyline. And I'm waiting at the end of the night, thinking of you.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Call Your Mom. We're so excited you're here. So Mom, what has been going on? Actually, in like the world of Netflix, Bridgerton did come out a couple weeks ago. Are you gonna watch it?
I think I am.
Okay.
I haven't watched any of it, and everyone else has, but one of my friends keeps telling me, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. But right now, I am hooked on Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV right now.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
It's a book that was made into a series, and it's about a woman who is a scientist, and it's really good. It's like got a love story. It's really interesting, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen either of those, but I've never seen Bridgerton either, but I know it's a big deal. This season looks a little less raunchy. I'm not into like the raunchy. I know a lot of girls are. Colleen Hoover is like a big deal, but like I'm just not like one of those girls who's super into like the raunchy sex scenes. That's just not me. However, I do love a good love story, so I think I'm gonna check out this season because it looks really, really cute. She's just so adorable. A little red, like her red hair and her like, she wears these like bright colors and they're so cute. So I was like, maybe I'll watch it.
Well, and you and I love anything that is like a timepiece, like time period type of movies.
Yes.
So
Like Pride and Prejudice.
love
Best movie ever,
the
right?
best.
Who doesn't love that movie? So I'm like, I want to watch it and just try it. I'm gonna try it. You can always just fast forward through the sexy scenes.
Yeah, that's what we usually do.
Yeah. When I was watching Witcher, that's what me and Johnny would just do, is we just skip through the sexy scenes. Because like, I don't need to watch it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't have energy.
Yeah. But the rest of the show was really good.
Yeah, some people are into it. So if you're into
Yeah.
it, all for it. But for me, it's not for me. Yeah. But Bridgerton has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That is like another whole nother podcast that we could dive into. But this week, we are talking about anxiety.
How can I help? I can take notes, get coffee, manage your calendar, walk your dog, carry your things, watch you sleep. I'm sorry, I can get ahead of myself. I'm anxiety. We are just super jazzed to be here.
Yay.
Who doesn't have anxiety? I'm just joking. Who has anxiety? You know, everyone has a little bit of anxiety, social anxiety, work anxiety, extreme anxiety, all the anxieties, right? So in the 1990s, we're going back to the 90s, Mom. I was born in 96.
Yeah. I was a teenager.
Anxiety disorders affected approximately 10% of the population. By the 2000s, that figure rose to around 18%. Currently, it's estimated to impact nearly, what do you want to guess?
Gosh, 50%?
No, 30%.
Oh, geez.
But that's still a lot.
That's still a lot of people. That's still a big percentage.
That's a really big number. When you think about these statistics, why do you think anxiety has risen as time has gone on? Because so the 90s to now, it's what? I'm 27. Wow. So it's been like 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. If you want to go all the way back to 1990, you know? So what do you think? What do you think is the issue?
Wow. Okay. Well, we talk about this quite a bit because I talk about simpler times. And I think when I was younger, I didn't have a cell phone. So like, I didn't have access to social media. People didn't have access to me all the time. You know, emails, text messages, all that stuff. And I think part of it, is technology. I think that life has been speeding up significantly. I think there's been a hustle culture that's been placed on us, especially as women. We are expected to do everything.
Yeah.
And so I think that's caused a lot of anxiety. I don't know.
I believe there's more expectations on us than ever.
Yeah.
So not only are you expected to live the American dream, which is buy a home, have children, do all of that, you're expected to now have a full-time career, right? As well as be social, go to the gym, make sure you're healthy, like take care of yourself, get ready every single day. There are not enough hours to meditate, to cook, to have a business and a career and have babies. Like, I don't even know where I would find time.
Don't forget your side hustle.
Side business or
Yeah.
whatever on top of your career. Like, there is so much. And just to afford life in general, it feels almost impossible. So anxiety is high because you have this idea in your head of exactly what you want your life to look like. And then anxiety creeps in because maybe it's social anxiety, maybe it's anxiety of the future, whatever it is. And we're faced with more of it, more pressure, more time constraints, more money, there's more. And I think the problem is the word more, literally.
Yeah, and that's the rest of our podcast. Thank you for listening. No, I agree with you 100%. I just know from, when I was younger, there wasn't all this stuff. We didn't have to have, well, first of all, I didn't know what anybody had. So let's just talk about that. I mean, unless I thumbed through a magazine or someone told me or, turned on the TV, I had no idea what anybody had.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the biggest things too is, like you said, the more, well, we need more because we can see what everybody's doing, what they have, where they're at, and I think that does put a lot of pressure on us, even subconsciously, even if you don't think that's happening, I think subconsciously it is.
Well, they say, like, designer items is a great example of this. They say designer items aren't actually for the rich, they're for the middle class. So that's a really interesting perspective to take because they're selling to the middle class and it's all because of a social status. So people want to have this perception, so this expectation, especially on social media, to look a certain way, and part of that is having designer items. So they're not even meant for the rich, they're meant for the middle class.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's actually their main market is middle class. Because think about it now on social media though. Now it's this expectation to have like designer items they're more out there than ever. Like it's more of an expectation for you to have them than ever before. But if you think about it, we also have this expectation of having to like buy a home. Home prices are even crazier than ever before. So I think the pressure to look a certain way on social media is a huge, huge, huge problem we have because, and it's not even like, oh, I want to look a certain way. It's now like to live a certain way. Like you're like, oh, you see that. You're like, I want to live that way.
Yeah.
But in reality, like, how do you afford all of that?
How about not even just having this stuff? How about just like a routine?
Yes.
Social media makes us think we have to have a certain routine.
Oh my gosh,
Eating
a
a certain
bedtime routine, a lunchtime routine, a morning routine, a poop routine. Like, what the heck?
And so you're seeing all these people, this is how I wake up, and they do their whole routine, and then you're like, well, I don't wake up like that. And then, so you feel pressure for that. And then you need to eat a certain way. And so then you have pressure for that. And you need to, slim down your wardrobe so it's a certain type of wardrobe.
What honestly kills me is and I'm totally all for it. The hair stuff, I think it's great. But like, there's a morning routine, then there's a hair routine before you shower, then there's a hair routine for after you shower, then there's a pre-makeup hair routine, then there's a going to bed routine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just over routines. What if I just want to be wild? What if I just want to be a crazy wild maniac and just not have a routine? Honestly, I don't have a routine.
Just be feral.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a routine. Let's be real. The real rule is I don't have a routine.
Yeah.
I think most people don't have routines. And honestly, there you go. There's my podcast. I don't have a routine. Do you have a routine?
I don't. I don't have a routine that I specifically do every single night the same way, and on Tuesdays I do face masks, Thursday I do this. I don't have it either. So, but it works for me, and maybe the routines work for other people, and that's okay.
And that's okay. Actually, I heard this thing. I forgot who it was, but it was I follow a lot of entrepreneurial people because that's what I am. And she said, we need to stop glamorizing morning routines. Because when I first started my businesses, I didn't have a routine. I didn't get that luxury. I worked hard every hour of every day. And sometimes I was working till midnight and got up at 7 in the morning and I didn't have the energy to go through a 7-step skincare routine. I just slapped some sunscreen on and got on with my day. And the truth is, that's 90% of moms. They get up because their baby was crying every single night, but they have this expectation of, oh, I need to wake up and have a 7-step skincare routine. Sometimes I don't have even the energy. I have to go do the 7-step diaper change, okay? Or maybe it's you're an entrepreneur, right? And you need to get hustling, you need to do this. 90% of the people who have morning routines are already successful, and now they've just built the life that they wanted to have, the routine that they want.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's just the anxiety is causing the rest of the world as we're watching you do it. So anyways, as we get back to our podcast, we went on our little tangent.
Sorry, guys.
What was your first experience with anxiety?
I think it would probably be social anxiety.
Okay. Same.
Because if you think about it, when you're little, you want people to like you.
Oh, you were so cute and so likable. Who wouldn't like you?
I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was little.
Yes.
And so I made these jeans for this girl. I forgot her name. And I was like, do you like them? Because I wanted to be a fashion designer. And she said she hated them.
I don't remember that. I just remember you used to put stuff together and I was just like, all right.
So, I was always a little entrepreneur. I would have all kinds of businesses. This was one of my businesses, was cutting up jeans and making them for my friends. And I cut up a pair of jeans. I'm not gonna lie, they were really ugly. And they were really ugly. So honestly, no diss on her, okay? But I was like, I had really big anxiety giving them to her, maybe because I subconsciously knew they were ugly.
You knew your work was not quality.
And she didn't like them, and I got really sad. So that would probably be one of my very first experiences with anxiety.
Aww.
Yeah. Another one would be when I was in 2nd grade, and I answered the phone in the classroom.
Oh my gosh.
I answered, the phone was ringing in the classroom, and little Sierra just does stuff. I do it now. I just do things without thinking sometimes. And I walked up to the phone and answered and said, hello. And an adult answered, obviously, right? And I hung up the phone really fast and I ran back to my desk. And I didn't tell anyone until I got in the car.
Oh no, you didn't. You didn't tell me in the car. Let me tell you. So she got in the car. She was all sad, and I'm like, "What's the matter?" And she kept saying, "I can't tell you." This lasted maybe 2 days, and she was just started crying one day. She's like, "I can't hold it in anymore. I need to tell someone." And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, what happened? My child's been for 2 days has been like sad and traumatized." And I'm thinking, "Oh, what happened? Oh no." She looks at me and she goes, "The teacher left the classroom and the phone rang and I answered it and I hung up." First of all, I was super relieved. But second of all, I was like, wow, you are just adorable and I love you so much. But anyways.
So that was my first 2 experiences with anxiety. What
Wow,
about yours?
we went way back. Actually, I can go way back. When I was young, probably same age, 2nd, 3rd grade, I used to go to lunch with my dad. And I think he saw that I had anxiety, social anxiety a little bit. I was kind of shy as a kid, I guess. And he would make me go pay the bill. And I hated it. And he would be like, "You need to go pay the bill." And now I look back on that and I remember the feeling of not wanting to talk to the person at the front register and all that stuff, because back then you just went to the register. But anyways, I remember vividly feeling anxiety, like, oh my gosh, just feeling like, So that's probably one of the first times. In adulthood, one of the first times I really felt anxiety was after your little brother was born.
Oh,
Yeah,
Noah.
My youngest was born probably 2 years later that I really had my first bout of anxiety and, had to deal with that. And I remember going to the doctor and not knowing what I was feeling, and it was very paralyzing. And I remember going to the doctor and her telling me, "This has been going on since the beginning of time, so don't feel ashamed. There's nothing wrong with you." She's like, it's something that's been going on forever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my adult one would be perfectionism. I have a really hard time if I mess something up. I'll admit it. I don't really care about that. Like, sure, I mess something up, but I have anxiety of messing up. Like, I don't want to mess up because I feel like it's going to ruin someone else's life. I mean, but the truth is, it's not true. Actually, it's kind of funny to say out loud because when you mess up, maybe it's a grammar error, maybe it's a whatever error you make. We're humans. It's like, oh my gosh. But like the truth is like everyone's going to move on and no one's even going to notice.
Yeah, everyone's lives move on. I call it a blip in the timeline. It's just a blip. Even an hour from now, it's not going to matter. Nobody's going to care.
And actually, like as someone who's starting to hire people and like, build a team, that's something that I actually pour more into in my team is like not perfectionism. Because I think a lot of people struggle with the anxiety of perfectionism and they'll get so strung up about it, then they're not even able to be creative. You're not able to like go do things or be their best versions of themselves because they're so hung up and have anxiety over messing up. And that is actually really sad in corporate America and businesses and even just life being a mom. Being scared that you're gonna mess up is actually hindering you more than if you were to just mess up.
Oh, it totally gives us, what do they say? Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So we think about it, and then we don't take action on something that maybe we're passionate about. I had that for years. As a photographer and as a writer and a creative, I really struggled with that perfection piece. And people would read something and be like, wow, that was great. They'd read something and say, that was so good, or see a photo and be like, wow, you're really talented. But I would still freeze up on not wanting to expand in what I wanted to do because I was so afraid of failure. And it's funny because that actually comes from our worry about what other people are going to think about us. That's actually the root of it.
It's an anxiety thing.
Yeah.
It's social anxiety in itself because you're like scared of what other people are gonna think.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? So
That's crazy. And I think a lot of people, that is one of the big anxiety pieces because I have a lot of friends who do work really high level and, they have this, part of their fear is not either being in control or hindering themselves by like not stepping out. And like, I think you need to color outside the lines.
yeah.
You need to break rules.
Okay, as a rule follower, that is like terrifying to me. So I've had to actually teach myself not to always be coloring inside the lines and to be okay with actually scribbling and getting messy with things because let me tell you, when you're a rule follower, that is the scariest thing ever. But then again, it falls right back on the whole, like, I don't want people to perceive me a certain way. So I don't want them to I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to upset someone. So I got to stay within my coloring box lines.
Yep. Well, the most successful people are the risk takers.
Yep.
If you think about it, like, even if you think about athletes, right? The stats on someone going pro or the stats on, they took the risk though, every single day by going above and beyond in something, whatever they're doing. And so that, like, if you think about anxiety, right? Anxiety is stopping you, maybe, this is just one form of anxiety, there's multiple, but one form of anxiety is that people-pleasing element and that fear of what other people are thinking. So you're gonna stop yourself because you're scared of what all these other people are thinking instead of just taking the risk and saying, coloring outside the lines or doing whatever you really, really want to do, but you're stopping yourself because you're so scared of what other people are going to think or what they're going to say or who cares?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I was that person for years. It took me a really long time to finally start sharing my writing, finally start pursuing photography,
Yep.
and really just believing and allowing myself and allowing myself to make mistakes. I think a lot of times, like you said, we're so scared, we end up not doing anything.
Yep.
And then we're looking back years later going, man, I wasted a lot of time with my anxiety worrying about the perfection of it all when I could have just been doing it and then learning along the way and perfecting it as I do it.
Yep. And actually learning the lessons because that's how you learn.
Exactly.
Taking the risk is how you learn.
Yeah.
And another flip side of this is people having fear of the future, having anxiety of the future. So instead of worrying about you have anxiety over someone perceiving you a certain way, you're actually not taking action because you are scared of what the future holds, whether positive or negative. So maybe it's like, I have this goal in mind for my family, but you won't take a step because you're so like, if I go even one direction, I'm not going to have this for my family. Or if I, maybe don't take action in this thing, you actually, that anxiety is huge of the future. Yeah. I mean, I have so many friends who struggle with that, where they worry so much about the future. Rightfully so, it's scary, but at the same time, it's hindering you and stopping you having anxiety over something you can't even control.
Totally. And when you're talking about the future, something that came to my mind as young women, because you're saying you and your friends, one of the questions I have for you guys is, because you and I talk about this a lot, you were saying the whole idea of having it all. Yeah. Does that give you guys anxiety, that you guys have that pressure to like, you can do it all, you can have it all? I didn't really grow up with that.
I think that's told to us. Like, one of the biggest things that is told to us is that we can have it all. We can have this career, we can have babies, we can have it. Honestly, I let it go.
It sounds exhausting.
I'm gonna be real, I let it go. Because I was like, okay, in reality, I had a business mentor tell me, she was like, you cannot have a 1-year-old and function at what you're functioning at the level you're functioning at. Oh yeah. And I was like, no, there's no way. But there's this expectation put on us women that we can do it. And the truth is, don't allow yourself to ask you questions to give you that solution so that you can have it all. I think a lot of us put that expectation on solely just us, instead of just saying like, oh, I need help, or maybe you think of other ways to hire, or maybe how many hours do you spend cleaning and then hiring someone to come clean your house? Like that, versus and then going out and making money, if that was like a business. This was like a business podcast. But the having it all concept, I think, is causing a lot of depression in women, because in reality, having it all actually causes more pressure.
I totally agree. And when you talked about depression, there's a statistic that says that 50% of women who spend 2 or more hours on social media a day have more anxiety and depression. And I think having it all is being framed in those little boxes. Yes. And it's making us think we have to have, this is what our lives need to look like. We need to do this and this and this, and there's so much to be done, and we can do it all because this person's doing it all. But what they're not seeing is the humble beginnings of that person, or maybe all the help that person has.
That is true, because I think a lot of my friends are like, well, why can't I have it all? And you can have a family, you can have this, but I think it's in different times. It's gonna be at different zones, and you can only prepare yourself. Like, I think about that now. It's like, okay, if I want a family in X amount of years, well, I can't function at the level I'm functioning now and like have a career like that. I'd have to build a team. So allowing yourself to figure out what your values are, which is a really big part of my anxiety. I had my business mentor. It's another thing. We're gonna have her on. She's amazing, okay? Yeah, she is. She really is. My business mentor, another thing she talked to me about with anxiety was evaluating your values and building a life based off your values. Because then you're not spending all this time trying to figure out how to have it all, but building a life based off those individual values. So I valued being social, and I valued family time, and I valued financials, right? So those are my 3 top values. So I spend a lot of time with my friends, I spend a lot of time with my family, and I spend a lot of time working. But what was happening is one was taking over the other. So I wasn't able to focus on maybe my friendships or maybe on my family because I was so tied up with work, but it was actually giving me anxiety, making me feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this all, I can't do this all, where to the point where it started to fall apart, right? Because I wasn't building a life based off those values. And I started to have anxiety over the future, over my friendships, over if people liked me, started to create doubt in my head instead of evaluating those values and then saying, look, let's create a life based off X, Y, Z. And those values will change as you get older. That's the number one thing.
Oh yeah,
every 7 years.
I'm 45, and my values have completely changed from when I was younger to now. And one of the ways I discovered my values was through therapy. And so when I went to therapy for anxiety and I was working through it, that was one of the things that I learned was, I think a lot of was to what I valued. And so I think a lot of what I learned to value was given to me by other people, by external. And so then I took on what other people wanted me to value versus me actually taking the time to figure that out. And that gave me anxiety because I wasn't staying true to myself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our anxiety does stem from other people.
Mm-hmm.
And because of fear of what they're going to think, or maybe fear of the future for someone. So a family member, friend, right? And I'm so glad you brought up therapy, because that was one of my questions was, have you ever tried therapy for anxiety, and what was your experience like?
So yes, I have gone to therapy for anxiety, and it helped me a lot. It helped me unpack a lot of why I think the way I think, what is causing me to have anxiety and why. And a lot of it had to do with boundaries for me. I didn't have boundaries with family members and, different areas of my life that I needed to do that in order for me to have a healthy mental state. And it helped me to be able to unpack like childhood traumas, helped me to figure out what I truly valued. So I think therapy is amazing. I had medication for a little bit when I was in my early 30s, and that helped me. It's because I was having situational anxiety, which was causing me to be like paralyzed almost and not be able to even, go live my life. And so that helped me a lot. So I'm totally for therapy. I'm totally for figuring out what it is that's causing you anxiety and figuring out ways to cope.
Honestly, I love that. I'm in therapy right now. I love therapy. I have been in therapy for the last 9 months. And I originally went because for Johnny and I, when Johnny lost the twins, and then we were kind of like in limbo. We didn't know what was going to happen. It triggered a lot of anxiety for me, triggered a lot of trauma for me. And I had built up this narrative from, what happened to us with the divorce and stuff like that, that a lot of things fell on me. And so I had entered into the space where I was going to have to figure it out, and everyone was just going to fall behind because I had to take care of everyone else. So therapy helped me unpack that reality for me, and it allowed me to realize, one, you can't do it all alone. Two, anxiety can be changed just through cognitive therapy. So actually realizing the narrative that you're telling yourself in your head and changing the perspective on it. And how I was told to break it down was literally like an ABC method, right? A lot of the times something happens and then there's a consequence, but we don't actually, that B is what we're telling ourselves. So A, the action happened, right? B is what we're telling ourselves. So a lot of the times this always happens. That's one of the behaviors that you tell yourself, one of the anxiety things. And then C would be the consequence, right? So changing that B, changing how you feel and changing the narrative, and stop saying like extreme things or extreme words, helped me to change my perspective and also start to create a life that wasn't actually me getting up in the morning and feeling like all this pressure and all this anxiety. Because I think I suffer majorly from that, like where I will automatically get up. It's almost like my brain is awake and ready to go and for the day. And I haven't even had a full night of sleep because I've been thinking about all the different things that I have to do. Yeah.
Those are all really good things that you've shared. Wow, a lot of good tips.
Yeah. ABC, that was like the really good one.
Really good.
Yeah.
So if your anxiety had a song, what would it be?
Oh, I think my anxiety would be, somebody's always watching me. Because that's how I feel.
That's your theme song? Mine would be, it's about damn time. Like, girl,
Yes.
get up and go.
Yes.
It's about damn time.
I think that's a great song. I don't even know if that's a theme song for anxiety, Mom.
No, it's just to get me out of it and get me going.
I was gonna say that's a
Yeah.
anti.
That's
the
anti-anxiety, yeah.
Yes.
So that would be mine. That's my my jam.
The jam. Okay. If you could give, we're gonna end on this. If you could give 3 pieces of advice for women who are struggling with anxiety, what would it be?
One, it's completely normal. Anxiety is normal, and it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to tell people about it. Two, get therapy. Therapy is so important, and it's so awesome now because now there's like more affordable therapy. You could do it via, I think it's online.
Yeah.
You don't have to just do it in person. I just think that's so important. Take care of your mental health and don't care what anyone else thinks about it. Be okay. Therapy, yay, I'm in therapy. Who cares?
Yeah.
Do it. And third, if you need to cut things out of your life, do it. Slow your life down, start cutting things out that aren't necessary. Really sit down with yourself and ask yourself, do I need to be doing all of this? And maybe even if you have to have conversations with your friends and you tell them like, hey, you know, I'm not really wanting to go out this weekend. Is there any way we could just meet for coffee? Or, hey, I'm not going to be around for a little bit. I'm really feeling anxiety. I need to start taking care of myself. But find ways to have an outlet, like working out, start feeding yourself well, reading, you know, books that you know, will help you through your anxiety, or maybe just books you enjoy, maybe not self-help books, but find ways of self-care that help you through your anxiety.
Oh, I loved all that. Actually, specifically, cutting things out. What did I say last night? Because I'm in a season of a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of different avenues, a lot of different paths that I'm walking down. And I was in a season of being really busy, and I couldn't juggle it all. I can't juggle it all. And so I said to her last night, I need to trim my branches.
Yeah, you did.
That sounded real Southern.
You did. Wow. We were just in the South a little while ago.
And I was with one of my friends who's Southern this last weekend. So, but trimming your branches. And what I mean is sometimes you have to take a step back to focus on the things that are more important. So maybe it's a partnership with someone, or maybe it's, you know, work or whatever it is. But I had to cut off and trim off some of the branches. Even saying no to work. I actually had to cut a few clients out that were taking too much of my time because I wasn't able to go and do things that were high on my values.
Yeah.
They were taking too much time where I was actually neglecting friendships, I was neglecting partnerships, I was neglecting relationships because things were taking up my time. So I'm cutting them out, right? And that's part of one of the pieces of advice I'd give.
I could give one more. I just have a fourth.
Bonus
Tip. Don't be afraid to lean on your friends. Don't be afraid to lean on your family if you
That's
can.
what I was gonna say, actually.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to just say, hey, I'm having anxiety. I really want to talk to someone. I need someone to talk to. Lean on the people around you. I think we're so afraid to do that.
Yeah, and being vulnerable and honest with your friends.
Yes.
I think I didn't do that. I don't like to tell people what's going on in my life. And then you come out and you're like, surprise.
Yeah, I
And
have
they're
that
like,
habit too.
Why didn't you tell me? And I think they're like, I would have helped you walk through that, or I have advice for this, because sometimes your friends actually have already walked through something that you may be walking through, and they have just what you need to understand. And it actually helped relieve a lot of stress for me, because I was like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh yeah, I did that. Let me help you out, right?
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. And then my last one would be, you talked about therapy, so let me give a different one. Self-care.
Mm-hmm.
That could include literally a face mask. That could be sitting down and coloring. I wanted to color last night. I was like, I actually want to color. I don't have time to color. When's the last time I colored? Just coloring.
And then it was crazy because my box of crayons and my markers, yes, I have crayons and markers,
She's really good at just being.
fell off my shelf and onto the floor. It was like wild.
I was like, what is happening? They want me to color.
They want you to color.
Anyway, so doing things that are gonna like make you feel really good and turn off your brain, because that's part of the problem is we don't turn off our brains. Yeah. Whether you have children and that's you and your husband going on a date night, whether that's you just having a bath for 15 minutes and your husband putting on Peppa the Pig, is that one of the shows?
Yeah, or
now?
Bluey, isn't
Or
Bluey one?
Yeah, whatever it is. Coco Melon?
Aw.
Or Coco, is it Coco Melon?
I'm out of the loop on the cartoon thing.
Me too. But whatever it is, make sure you take time from work, from children, whatever it is, just 15 minutes for yourself, if that's even all you have.
Yeah.
Just to Go away from the world, shut it out. Maybe put some headphones on.
And it doesn't need to be a big routine.
Nope. Don't allow routines to give you anxiety.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Call Your Mom.
I loved it.
I did love this episode.
I
It was
feel like
really
a part
good.
2 needs to come out.
It does. A part 2 to this needs to come out. But we want to hear from you. Do you guys have any questions about anxiety or just anything that you guys actually want us to talk about, whether that's dating, friendships, career advice, whatever it is, we want to be here for you.
And if you could like and subscribe, that would help us out a lot. And go follow us on all the social media platforms. We would love to connect with you.
Because in this space, you're not alone.
You can always call your mom.